My friend and I wanted to catch a movie at the movie theater as we had nothing better to do, and we really wanted to get out of the house. There are only 2 movie theaters in my area though, with one of them being a 30-minute drive and the other a 15-minute drive. The one that was closer to us was in a really bad area, but my friend wanted to go to that one because it was attached to a rundown mall, and he wanted to take a couple pictures of something specific, because he was into photography and he was working on a project. I really wanted to go to the other one, but I eventually agreed as I didn't want to argue. I've been to this movie theater before with my friends when I was much younger, maybe like 7 or 8 years before, but the area has gotten much worse since then in terms of crime and drugs and like violence and stuff. When we got there, it felt like a ghost town. There were literally less than 10 cars there, and because it was such a chilly and foggy night, it really added to the eeriness and the ambience of the place. Like I said before, the movie theater was connected to this mall that was practically abandoned. At least half of the stores had been shut down completely. I really don't even know why they keep the mall or the movie theater open if I'm being serious. The only reason most people come here, it seems, is if they're up to no good. We walked around the mall for a few minutes so my friend Alex could take a few quick pictures. I started feeling weird and I was anxious to go watch the movie, so we headed towards the movie theater. This mall was off a street that led into the most dangerous part of the city, called Hamilton Avenue. I don't need to get into specifics with this part of the city, just trust me when I say it is in fact dangerous and not safe whatsoever. Especially at this time of night for 2 18-year-olds. Alex wanted to take more pictures, but I was ready to go find our movie so we could finally sit down and prepare to watch it. When we opened the doors to the theater and walked inside, right away we saw that there was not a single person there. I wasn't expecting a lot of people or anything, I just wasn't expecting us to be the only people watching the movie. The movie hadn't started yet though, and we still had like 5 minutes at least until it would stop playing the previews. So I thought maybe more people would show up. Either way, it didn't really matter to me that no one else was there. I just thought it was a bit weird. Anyways, we rushed to the very far back part of the theater and sat in the top row seats, the furthest away from the screen. We started watching the movie and everything was all good, until about an hour into the movie. Alex said he had to go to the bathroom and that he was going to get a couple snacks for us. I almost went with him because I didn't want to be in the theater alone. I was really enjoying the movie though, and I didn't want to make things awkward or have my friend think I was being a baby, so I stayed in the theater. As Alex was leaving and he got halfway down the stairs, I saw somebody prop their head up and stare at Alex the whole rest of the time he was walking. Alex didn't notice the man though. I kind of crept down to my seat as he propped up, because I really didn't want the guy to see me. And then he looked behind himself up at me, in my direction. I couldn't tell if he could see me or not, but he was staring in my direction for what felt like a full minute. Something didn't feel right. I almost ran out of the theater, but my anxiety kept me paralyzed. We would have noticed if there was someone watching the movie, so it was just really weird that this man appeared to come out of nowhere. Was he like slouched down the whole time, or like hiding under the seat or something? I didn't have much time to process my thoughts though before he stood up and started walking my way. He was at least 50 years old, and not much taller than me, and really skinny. And he had some really old dirty clothes on. He first started by talking to me and asking simple questions, like how old I was, what my name was, and where I was from. I ignored him completely, but he started to raise his voice at me. He tried getting me to leave the theater with him, and he wanted me to go to his car. He pulled out $300 and said, "Here you go, sweetie. All you have to do is do whatever I say for 10 minutes, and the $300 is all yours." It was at that moment that I told him I wasn't interested, and I told him he was making me uncomfortable, and I respectfully asked him to leave me alone. Then he pulled out a pair of handcuffs and some duct tape and flashed it in front of my eyes and told me that he also had a knife. He was 100% trying to intimidate me into doing what he wanted, but I just stalled with him as long as I could, and I started playing stupid by asking him dumb questions. I was just trying to keep him entertained while I waited for Alex to get back. The old man then put his hand on my leg and reassured me that everything was okay and to not be scared. Then he kept insisting that I go to his car with him. Thankfully, Alex showed up, and he got the man to leave me alone. We ran out of the theater to tell an employee about it, and they called the police. One of the guys that worked there said that this same guy keeps sneaking in somehow, even after he was banned from the theater, and harassing young girls who were alone. I think he actually got arrested this time though, so hopefully that will stop him from coming back. I don't know where he is now, and I don't care to wonder either. We left the movie theater early that night without even finishing the movie, so that whole situation kind of ruined our night. I've never been to that mall or movie theater since, nor do I plan on going ever again. This story happened 3 years ago. I went with my brother to see this one movie at the movie theater that he wanted to see. I don't even remember what it was called. My brother was 11 years old at the time, and I was 17, so our parents made me go with him to keep an eye on him. There were lots of people in our theater by the time we arrived, so we settled for the best seat that we could get. My brother wanted to sit in the very back, but unfortunately everyone had taken those seats already. So we found ourselves sitting in the middle section of the theater. I was okay with that, but my little brother Carson was a little bit upset. We still had some time before the movie started though, so I thought it would cheer him up if we got some popcorn and I got him some candy. So really quick, we left and hurried and got in line to get our snacks so we could get back in time before the movie started. As we were waiting in line, and just before we got to the cash register, my little brother kind of ventured off as he was growing impatient of the line. I saw him looking at the TVs and looking at a new trailer for a movie that he was obviously interested in by the bathrooms. I looked away for less than 1 minute, while I told the movie theater employee what we wanted for snacks. When I looked back, my brother was gone. My heart started racing. However, in the back of my mind, I figured he couldn't have gone too far. So I paid for our snacks really quick and I began looking for him. I ran down one of the hallways and luckily I saw him before it was too late. He was holding hands with an older man about to walk out of the movie theater through an emergency exit. My heart started beating so fast that I thought it was going to blow up out of my chest. I started feeling lightheaded and woozy, but I pulled myself together because I wasn't going to let anything happen to my little brother. Not only was I responsible for him, but I also let him down by not paying enough attention to him and letting him wander off by himself. Everything just happened so quickly though, and I couldn't believe the situation I was in. I ran and chased after the man, and I called up to him very quickly because he was elderly. The strange thing was that he didn't even try to put up a fight against me at all. He tried to cover it up by pretending that he had dementia or like some sort of serious mental illness. I could see right through his acting though, and that he was lying. There was no way he had dementia. My grandpa has dementia, and I know for a fact it wouldn't make him act like that. The man tricked my brother into thinking that he was a family member and that our parents wanted him to take him home. I called the police and the guy drove off. I didn't think to get his license plate number or anything because I wasn't thinking straight at all. I called my parents though and they told us to wait in the car with the doors locked and that my dad was calling the police. I stayed on the phone with my mom until they got there and we all waited for the police together. The police showed up 10 minutes after my parents did, and we made a report against him. Apparently the man did have quite the history of mental health issues, and he had records that showed he was mentally unwell. I feel like the police brushed it off and didn't even start an investigation because of it. We haven't heard anything about the man since. I had a very little amount of friends in high school. I wasn't a popular kid at all, as I was nerdy and a quiet kid. Each year of high school, I grew increasingly more antisocial, and most of my friends were gaming buddies I met online, and the rest of my friends were the lifelong friends I've had since I was just a child. I've never really had a best friend though. I've never really met anyone that I felt like understood me and that I felt like I could 100% trust. My junior year, however, there was a new kid that rode my bus. He began talking to me every day and sitting next to me on the bus, and we became good friends, or so I thought. He was immediately a popular kid, as he was a star quarterback on the football team, and everybody liked him as soon as he started school here. We didn't have any classes together, but he introduced me to some of his friends at lunch, and he let me sit with them. I was used to sitting alone, so I was happy to have some company. But it didn't take long for me to realize that all of those kids were being fake towards me, and were just pretending to be my friend. I knew they all thought I was weird, but at the same time, I had a sliver of hope that they actually liked me, because for the most part, they were actually nice to me. Well, they were nice to me at first, I should say. As the weeks went by, I felt like I was growing closer with everybody, especially the new kid, whose name was Mason. He told me one morning on the bus that everybody at our lunch table liked me, and that they only had one issue with me. They thought I was gay. You see, I am gay, but at that point in time, I hadn't told a single soul about my sexuality, not even my own mother. So I was really confused on how they knew I was gay. I looked at Mason, and then I told him that I was gay. He looked at me with this very puzzled look on his face, and he asked me if I was joking. When he realized I was being serious, he kicked me out of the seat and told me to get away from him. I told him I was just joking and that I wasn't gay, even though I am gay. I just didn't want to lose my friend. I thought he would have accepted me, so that's why I told him I was joking. He told me to get away from him again, and told me that if I ever try to talk to him again, that he will make my life a living hell. He told everyone at the lunch table the same day about what happened, and I wasn't allowed to sit with them anymore. I noticed them looking at me repeatedly that day at lunch, and they were clearly making fun of me. It really upset me, but I didn't do anything about it, as I didn't think there was anything that I could do. I sort of just accepted the situation that I was in. After school, when I got home, I was trying to forget about what happened. It was the weekend now, and I didn't want to be miserable. Being away from school was the only time I was ever happy, so I didn't want to lose that. My only real friend that I had at the time sent me a text later that night and asked me if I wanted to go to the movies. I told him yes, and that I was excited because it meant I could get out of the house. When we got there, I saw that Mason was there, and a couple of his friends from the lunch table as well. As I was walking in, they were all looking at me and whispering to each other, and clearly making jokes about me or something. I just walked past them and I tried to pay no mind. I gave them a friendly wave though, out of awkwardness. I also just didn't want my friend Brendan to think that I was being bullied. When we got inside, I gave Brendan some money and I asked him if he could get our tickets and whatever he wanted for snacks while I used the bathroom real quick. When I was done using the restroom and I flushed the toilet, I heard some people in the bathroom talking under their breath. And then all of a sudden, "Hey, weirdo, why don't you open that stall door so we can have a quick conversation?" Right away I realized it was Mason. He threatened me and began counting down from 3 and told me if I wasn't out of the stall by the count of 3 that I was going to get it a lot worse. So I opened the door, and as soon as I did, he hit me directly in the face, and I received a few more punches from his friends. Then I fell to the ground and hit my head on the toilet and landed in a puddle of pee. Then one of the kids took their drink and dumped it all over me. Then they left after kicking me a few times in the stomach and threatening me by telling me if I ever told on them that the next time I won't be able to walk. They left the bathroom and I got up. I got myself together and I found Brendan. We went out to the car and I took my shirt off and he gave me a dry sweatshirt I could wear. I told him what happened and I made him promise not to tell anyone. And as far as I know, he kept to that promise. We went back inside and watched our movie, and then Brendan dropped me back off at home. I never told anyone about what happened to me, apart from Brendan. Not even my parents. My parents knew I got jumped, but they didn't know who did it. I didn't think it was worth telling them, so I didn't. Those kids didn't bother me much for the rest of the year. I would see them pointing at me often and making fun of me, but that was nothing compared to the brutal beatdown that they gave me that day. It's been years since all of this, and Mason actually reached out to me and apologized. He sent me a very long and thoughtful message on Facebook, and I wasn't sure how to feel about it, so I didn't reply. I appreciated his apology, but I couldn't really find it in me to forgive him. I'm in college now, and I've since found way better friends, and I haven't experienced any bullying at all. People have been very accepting of me and the fact that I'm gay, and I'm happier than I've ever been.